Well, you guys, welcome to another edition of After Dark for tonight. And it's going to be a small crew tonight because we don't have Tiffany tonight, and Horace is at an event tonight.
Nothing
So
new.
it's going to be me and Jeff, and hopefully Troy will be on. He's running a little bit late this evening. So we have a very interesting and juicy topic tonight for our After Dark sessions. Y'all already know that when we talk about After Dark, we get down and dirty into the juicy. And so tonight we're talking about underrated, overrated sexual sex positions. And I
Uh-huh.
think and we're also talking about eye contact during oral sex. And this can go either way. This can go either way. Okay. But let's just talk about these underrated, overrated sex positions. I think that first of all, when it comes to this, it's gonna still boil down
Mm.
to your spice. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Some people really enjoy some of the more traditional positions, like
We'll name
missionary,
some of them. Name them so people know.
like doggy style, like reverse cowgirl. All of these positions. If you study the Kama Sutra, it's a bunch of them. It's like millions of positions, but they all boil down to a few certain basic things. It's just how you contort your body. It's two things. It's either going to be from the front or from the back.
When you say from the front, you mean missionary, right?
Correct. You
That's not.
either
That's,
going to be looking at each other or you're not.
that's not one of my favorites. Because I like to be in control. So, and well, go ahead. I'm sorry. We gonna.
No,
So
go right
so
ahead.
it seems a lot of times it depends. Like if you're a more dominant person, like I like to be in control in bed. I like to be in control, period. But in bed, I like to be so, of course, doggy style. Like you said, a reverse cowboy, anything where I can hold you down, whatever. Those are my favorites. But in many instances, there's people who like to be in control too, but they're the penetrated person with women or what have you. They like missionary because it's comfortable to them. That's just my experience, but I'm not a fan of missionary. I'm tall, and it's always kind of difficult unless I got to put pillows up.
It's boring.
You think it's boring? You think it is?
Boring.
You're the first person I ever heard say that. Because usually when I ask, like, what are your favorites? I always get missionary. Missionary is always the one I hear. Is the first one. And I'm just like, okay.
I think that if you're going to do missionary, you got to get creative. So here's the thing. Okay, you gotta get creative. I don't know. Somehow you're gonna have to contort. You gotta make it exciting, because otherwise it's just kind of like, why are you sweating on me? Like I just find it boring. It's just not exciting. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
Yeah,
unless you're doing something special with the legs and it's, you know what I mean? You gotta make some adjustments. But if you're just laying there and it's just it's
well, I don't know. Well, here's my thing too. A lot of times folks who do missionary, they like the intimacy. It's
right.
The eye contact. It's the be able to hold you. They can see how you're looking at them. I personally don't mind how it feels, but like I said, I like to go all the way in. I like to be in control. I can choke you when we're missionary, but it's like.
But at the same time, if there's other positions that you can do that's face to face that give you that same thing. For instance, you can sit, you know what I'm saying, and if you're sitting Indian style and she's on top of your leg, you can still get that deep penetration. You can still get that face to face eye contact. You can still choke if that's really what you want to do. You can scratch. You can bite. You can nibble on the neck, because you vampire people like to bite and suck and do all of that. You can do all of that. So it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a choker. I'm a choker too. On top of that, Now, you made a good point. You said riding is a good one, which is the truth. I don't mind that either, but again, they're in control. But the biggest thing is, if we're going to start that way, we're not finishing that way. And a lot of
first of all, who starts and finishes in the same position?
I've done that if I'm just, if it's good, I've done that. Sometimes I'm into it and I don't want to mess it up. But usually I switch probably 2, maybe 3 times, depending. If we're doing it and I'm not feeling it, or you're kind of loose or whatever, yeah. Like for instance, like you could tell, like with a female, you could tell if they recently just been penetrated or if they had a child recently. Trust me, you can tell.
Well, yeah. But see, that's where you have to, you gotta get creative and do something different. Like there's positions for that to adjust for that. You know what I mean? I think that, yeah, you just gotta, cause okay, so let's really break this down. The reality is, women gonna have a baby. Things are gonna happen that's gonna cause things to get loose. It is what it is, especially after you have a baby. And you have to you have to know your mate, and 2, again, it's all kinds of creative stuff that you can do to spice it up and to make it. And I hate to say that word, spice it up. Troy hates that too, but it's stuff that you can do that can help create that tightness and make that excitement. Because the reality is, for men get off on friction. So the looser it is, the harder it is for friction. So let's just do a quick basic anatomy sex class here tonight. Okay.
If it feels like a hot dog down the hallway,
right.
I'm going to throw you down the hallway.
Right. So you got to know that, the way it works for men, they need that friction. So the looser you are, the more challenging it's going to be for that man to be excited and enjoy it and get what he needs out of it. So it's you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna have to contort and do some things and find that position that will manipulate yourself around him so that he gets that friction and what he needs to enjoy. You know what I mean? Because it's not just you getting yours as a woman, it's 2 of y'all in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that it's 2 of y'all in this
Well, let's talk about that. If there's 3 people, like, you don't have to, I don't know if you're comfortable with personal, but if there's, say, a threesome or something, right?
Right.
I prefer to be the only one in control. In that case, there's many different positions for that. So, for instance, there could be one like writing, and then the other one could be in my face, with
right.
That's,
well, I mean, let's get into that. let's get into that, because I think that's another one of those overrated, underrated things that, you know what I mean, that we can talk about, because people like to get excited, bring different things like toys or whatever into the bedroom or whatever, and they bring in another person into the bedroom. So now it's still it's a different dynamic now, because we're looking at, how do you manage that threesome? Or for those of you who really like excitement, you're doing like a mini orgy. You got several people. It's all kinds of things happening.
Well, sometimes some people go to sex parties.
Correct.
Because they get that non-vanilla exposure that they do not fulfill in their own relationships. Like, I know people who are married and their wives or significant other do not give oral sex.
Right.
They degrading. I don't understand that. I don't need it personally. I don't, because I can do all the work. All you got to do is just be there, participate, work with me.
Right.
Work with me. That's the important thing. Work with me. You work.
I think that's part of the challenge too. Then is again, finding somebody who's okay with the things that you're into. You know what I'm saying? That you get down with, because for instance, you might be a person. I think I saw this. I don't know if I saw it in Ringside or Code Red. Somebody was talking about you know, not being comfortable introducing something to a sex partner to their partner because they want
y'all had ringside earlier. Yep.
And ringside, yeah. So it was a conversation where somebody, if you're not in ringside, y'all missing out. But anyway, it was a conversation about, and it's two different dynamics. One was an older woman being concerned about how to approach her younger partner about
how much
intimacy and things that she was interested in. But there was another one where I think it was a guy, he was concerned about wanting to introduce or present something, something sexual to his partner, but not sure how that person was going to receive it. So I'm just like,
yeah. Well, here's my thing about that. Everyone knows up front what I'm into, whatever. And if you're not into it, I'm going to make you be into it. That's it, point blank.
How you gonna make somebody be into?
Easy. It's called handcuffs. It's called ropes. It's called you don't have a choice because
it's called you about to catch a case.
No, but all jokes aside, no. Just like everyone know. Well, not everyone knows. Let me not say that because I'm gonna sound like a mess. It is well known that anyone who's dealt with me knows I'm a biter. Not everyone likes to be bit, but 94% of the time when I have dealt with someone, eventually they learn to grow and get used to the biting.
Right.
And it's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And then there's things that I've personally not liked. Nothing, you ain't biting me or nothing, but there's certain things that I don't particularly care for, but I've been kind enough to compromise just a little bit because it like others like it. And relationships and stuff or intercourse is about compromise.
Right.
I say that.
I think that part of it is
following. I want to be clear that does not mean everything, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But in most cases, a compromise is okay.
Right. I think that one of the challenges is, when we're talking about underrated or overrated, positions, it boils down to everybody involved. And when I say everybody involved, because again, like you mentioned, sometimes it might be a threesome, it might be 4, 5, 6 people involved or whatever, or it might just be 2 people. You still have to decide between yourselves and have that conversation between yourselves on, it boils down to date at your level, and if it's a hookup, you got to know, just go on and put it out there. This is it. You still have to have that conversation and say, look,
let me ask you this.
This is what I'm into. This is what I'm not into. It's just like that conversation we got going on in ringside about anal play.
Yeah, yes. That's what I was going to bring up. Before I get to that, would you ever participate in threesome? The people want to know.
Would I ever participate in a threesome?
Mm-hmm.
I've already been there, done that. That's not
you holy. The folks think you holy.
40 plus years old. I had a life before I got holy.
Let's spice this up a little bit with my lovely best friends who are eating McDonald's. Have you, Antoine from Raw Talk, have you ever been in a threesome?
Yes, I have.
Your thoughts?
I mean, I've never been in a threesome with somebody I've been in a relationship where I was dating, but I've been in a threesome with, friends and just people of interest. So, I mean,
right.
You can be in a threesome and still not have interaction with both people.
There you go.
As long as that rule and that can be clear, then it can work. But you still can't control if you see someone naked and you feel differently. That's when it's a problem. Whoever you do it with, you just got to be secure with the environment and comfortable with the people.
Right.
And Rashad.
Yeah, I've been in one. Well, a couple.
He said a couple.
I mean, I don't feel like it's that big of a deal. I mean, if you're in consent with someone else, then I don't see why not.
Right.
As long as you're being safe.
Now, let's talk about that. Here's the thing with me. I don't, like I said, I wouldn't mind them as long as I'm the one in control, because it's not an insecurity, but I'm gonna just say this. If I see someone gravitating to someone else, a little bit more than myself, we're gonna have a problem. I will shut it down. It's never happened, but I know me.
Right.
I know me, and that's my issue. So when it comes to threesomes, now when it comes to as you mentioned, not touching other, like me and I'm not gonna say no names, but me and some of my best friends have participated in threesomes, and I would never touch them. That's nasty. That's incest. It's horrid, putrid, and disgusting. I can't look at you like that when you're my brother. You know what I'm saying? But in such case, the focus was on the other person. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's okay to do that. It doesn't make you bisexual. It doesn't whatever. It's all about trust and having that conversation. Depending on the situation. If you are a swinger, you know Will Smith and Jada, they are swingers. And from what I heard, you don't force them. From what I heard, Will Smith and Jada do stuff. And although I do question Will Smith's sexuality, you know, it's all good. He still does what he does.
Right.
So
yeah, I think that, you know, here's the thing. When it comes to whether a position is overrated or underrated, it really has to do with, again, the people that you are involved with. And whether this is a hookup or you're doing this within the sanctity of a more intimate relationship. So, so a lot of that's what that has to do with it. So I think that I love that what Jay is saying here about you don't force them, you influence them to make them think it's their idea. And sometimes that's the best way to do. You just got to smooth that thing in there. Hi, Trey. Welcome to the party, love.
Hey, thank you.
So
I think that, you know, we're talking about threesomes this is what we're talking about, threesomes.
And then we need to talk about that post in ringside today with that girl that said something about anal play with guys.
Right.
That was nasty.
That post got so many responses. Many responses.
Yeah, it was. I think it was appropriate for tonight.
Yeah. So, but I think that, you know, when it comes to different positions, whether it's overrated, underrated, whatever you want to do, you know, like Jay said, you don't force them, you influence them to make them think it's their idea. Jeff was saying earlier that, you know, if you're gonna be with him, he gonna make you like and want to do what he do. So that's where that comment came from. But I think that hey Candy, we missed you too.
I love Candy.
We miss you, girl. But I think that we're talking about overrated and underrated sexual positions, whether it's, you know, threesomes, orgies, missionary, you know, doggy style, reverse cowgirl, like all those different ones. You know, personally, like I said earlier, I find missionary to be boring, but you know, some people find that very exciting.
Oh, I think it's very exciting. I think it's just one of those things you kind of have to remix and kind of, you know, sprinkle a little season on it. But it can be very erotic, depending on how you do it. I mean, if you just, you know, it's one of those, like, yeah, you're gonna have to. Yeah, you got to do some things, but I like missionary, just depending on, you know, the woman's legs are way up or spread out or some other stuff.
I'm just gonna say this, and I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all do. I prefer to be a contortionist, and y'all go do what y'all.
Explain that to those who don't know what it means, like Troy.
A contortionist. Be flexible. If you ain't flexible, it ain't doing that.
Yeah, a contortionist.
A trick I do, and I don't need nobody watching to at me right now. But the other thing I do is, like, when I'm kissing you or when I'm laying on top of you before we start, I always pull the legs back, see how far they can go. That's me testing to see how flexible you are without me even telling you what I'm doing. And if you go back that far, well, you're gonna learn your limits tonight. So, not tonight, but
don't break nobody legs, please. Don't be over here breaking people's legs, okay? Messing up bones. Yeah. So Troy, weigh in on the conversation here on overrated, underrated positions.
I mean, I think that is going to, obviously, I'm pretty sure you already touched on this, is going to vary from person to person. I mean, that's, I just think that's just natural. I think when the post was made, I commented, and someone, of course, disagreed with me and thought I was crazy when I said that reverse cowgirl doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I saw that response.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, because
you got several replies to that.
Yeah, I was like, y'all act like I'm talking about you specifically. I'm like, I'm just saying.
Well, what it is, Troy, when people do that, because I go through this in my own group and just on my page, what it is it's a subconscious thing where they want it to be them, or they're thinking of themselves with you, and when you don't give them that fantasy, they lash out indirectly.
I mean, it was something, because I was like, oh, it's an opinion. Tried it before with women, and it just didn't do anything for me. And that was just me giving my testimony. Reverse cowgirl, yes, it's good for some people, and I'm pretty sure some people love it as a go-to. But for me, no, I'm gonna be quick. I'm gonna flip you right back around, and we're gonna do something else. So I mean, that was just definitely a leading example. Like, it's not a bad, it's not a bad thing. It's just not one of those positions that turns me on. But what was there was another one in that article. I didn't know what the hell a pile driver was. I probably done it and didn't realize it was called a pile driver.
A pile driver. Wow. So let's talk about that post. So someone had asked, would a man be okay with a female giving him cunnilingus in his anal area?
Right.
Yeah, salad tossing.
Eating his butt out. Sorry, some people didn't understand what I was. Cunnilingus means using your tongue in the genital area. So what happened was a lot of men, of course, said, hell no, I agree. And then there was people in there that I know are lying. I could look at their profiles and tell that they're lying. And then there was one female saying that she only would do that if he agrees to let her peg him. And at that point, there was a whole conversation about if a guy allows a woman back there that they're gay or bisexual. And I thought that was pretty funny. They went off. So
yeah, of course.
I could tag it, but that conversation lit up the room today. And we debated that before, and it's always going to be, I'm always going to reference heteronormativity. That's what I call it.
I mean, that's a good term. I mean, just like I made the mention, I'm old enough to remember being in junior high and high school in the 90s, and eating pussy was like that. I mean,
people. Yeah, I saw once you talk about that. I thought it was very interesting. You said people in the 90s were bashed for giving oral sex to women.
Oh, absolutely. And
what's wrong with it?
I mean, back then it was considered very, very taboo. It was one of those things where, as a guy, if it was inferred that you ate pussy, that meant that you were, soft, or you were a punk or something like that. This was the 90s. So we were in junior high and high school. But I do remember there were occasions where guys would get into a fist fight because dudes say, I heard you eat pussy, or you want a pussy ass, But it got to the point you realize, okay, a lot of us dudes are out here eating pussy. We just can't talk about it. We just can't say, yes, I eat pussy. And I feel like that's what, tossing salad is today. It's men and women out there doing it. They just know, they can't just, put it on a t-shirt and just blab about all over social media, but they doing it. It's plenty of men and women doing it.
Yeah.
Sorry, just for the record, I'm not making that face at what you're saying.
We saw your shot.
What the hell was in that?
We saw your shot. See, this is why you don't be over here just drinking stuff because somebody handed it to you.
Sorry.
I think that, you're right, Troy.
I think
that this is one of those generational things that every generation has something that's taboo that you don't do or that's not talked about. And I think Jeff has a valid point too. Some people are not as vocal about their escapades. You know what I mean? And that to me,
a lot of those men
just don't answer the post. Just don't reply to the discussion. Don't get on. I just look and I just be like, I saw that post and I just was like, I'm going to read.
A lot of men were like, I said, sir, do you even like women? Some of the ones that I saw comment about, I just left it alone. But I left it alone because it's not my business. I don't judge. It's God's job. Hallelujah. But you know, I just wanted to say it. There were several I just wanted to comment and put the little like Dr. H loves on Twitter. Whenever she know I'm saying something, she knows the underlying meaning.
I know exactly.
It's either the little white boy with the bob cut going like this, or if it's like a okay, I know what you're saying, I'm with you. It's Janet Jackson with the apple going. But I wanted to do that, but I said, you know what? I'm gonna leave it alone. It ain't my business.
Oh no, it's just a case of who's going to be honest about, and you know, who's going to pretend or just keep it to themselves. But no, trust me, a lot of sisters are doing it. But I understand it's not one of those things that they can put it in a rap song and brag about. I mean, they can put in a rap song how much they suck dick, and it's still cool. You know, maybe 10 years from now, it'd be cool to make a rap. You'll get the you know, wet ass booty. You know
what Reginald said.
Yeah, it's just.
I agree. Reginald makes a valid point here. A lot of people
we're scared to be judged because, like a lot of women said in there, if I meet a guy that does this, I'm going to think he's gay.
Correct.
Right.
Said 9 times.
Right. And it's not even that. And it's not even that. And I think that this is why conversations like this are important, because whether whether you've been dating for a long time, you're new to the dating scene, maybe you just want to do hookups, or you're married, and because don't think that just because you're married that this isn't applicable to you, because your spouse might come to you, because we had a conversation in Ringside. Your spouse might come to you with a suggestion, to change to try a new position or to try something different in your, in your marriage. And you need to know how to respond. Like there are different positions out there, and you might be comfortable, but
and this is my response. Oh, that is so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Or would you be, or I'd be like, oh, what are you drinking? Did you ever drink today? Yeah, give it back.
Right. So I think that
it depends what it is.
But but I think that also it's the same thing. It's no different than, okay, so say, you're talking about, these sexual positions, and Jeff, as you were talking about, the oral sex and in anal oral sex, toss and salad. Let's talk about eye contact, because earlier you talked about liking eye contact, in certain positions when you're in certain positions, and that can be very, very erotic and really take it to the next level, like insane. And sometimes it's the response on somebody's face that really does it for you.
So let me ask you this, and then we're going to ask the audience, which is something I want to incorporate a little bit. How do you feel about eye contact? Do you think it's important during intercourse and oral sex, eye contact? And let's start. Answer for if it's a hookup or just a friend, and if it's your partner.
Damn, that's a good question. You go first, Dr. H.
I don't do hookups no more. So, but when I did. No. Like, I don't need to see you. You don't need to see me. We're going to hit this doggy style. We're going to get this, we're going to get this reverse cowgirl. We're going to be flipping whatever, and we're going to be done. Relationship-wise, when we here, I need to see you. Like, eye contact is required.
I remember on the very first episode we all did, you made a strong statement. You said you could tell by looking at them if they're here or not. If they're trying to get the rocks off. And
I need to know you, because if you ain't here, you need to go be with whoever you with in your mind right now. Because
unless it's Halle Berry. I'm sorry. But anyways, what about you, Troy? And I'm going to answer, and then we're going to ask the audience.
No, I mean, I do find it erotic, and I find it somewhat intimate, but I remember, what year is this? I do remember a long time ago, I was, missionary. I was with a young lady, we were doing missionary, and I was doing my own remix of it, and I just told her, I said, look at me. And then afterwards, I remember she explained to me, she said that turned her on. It turned her on for me to tell her to look at me.
Yes, honey, have conversation with me, give me instructions.
Yeah, I don't know what provoked me. I just remember, I said, look at me. But, so I do find it somewhat erotic, because when you look at someone in the throes of passion, and you can tell they're enjoying it, you can tell they're somewhere mentally in another place, but in a good way.
Their eyes are closed and you're trying to look at them.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a turn on. You know, it definitely is it absolutely required? No, but you know, it does get to a point where if it's hot and heavy, I will tell a woman like, look at me. But you know, it just depends.
Get it together. Straight up and fly. All right, let's ask the audience. When you are involved in sex, do you like eye contact?
So I only like eye contact with someone that I am more intimate with. Like it's not fucking. We're probably making love. We're trying to make something more sensual.
Right.
The quickie.
Sorry for the dog humping the sheets.
Most people who want in the eyes, they're looking, in my experience, they're looking for more than just the one night. So yes, but then no, because if we just getting it on, don't give me all that extra. Like, you know what I'm saying? I want it nasty. I don't need that whole slow eye contact, rub the booty. No, we smacking and flipping it. Okay, you know?
Stop
Kip
that.
is having a moment.
No, because everybody saw that.
Yeah, Kip is having a moment. It's okay. That's what they do.
Turned on.
That's okay.
Well, it's appropriate for the conversation, obviously. He's giving demonstration.
What were you saying, Rashad? Lord have mercy, Jesus. Do you like eye contact during sex?
No. I mean, I'm generally kind of timid, so the lights are normally off. Yeah.
Did he say with the light, if the lights are on?
No, he's saying he's timid, so the lights usually off. And trust me, my room is right next to his. He lying. Maybe screaming. Okay.
What?
I wanted to apologize to everybody for the dog.
Okay.
Conversation.
It happens.
You have a dog, so you understand.
No, yes, I'm not judging. I'm not tripping.
That's what they do. I mean, it's what dogs do. I mean, you know, hey.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So Jeff, give your answer, because.
All right. So you're gonna turn the shit down. So.
Okay. Yeah. So I can tell you right now, in the comments, there's a consensus.
I was going to answer. So what I was going to say is, if I am involved with you romantically, of course, I want to see your eye contact, but not the whole time.
That's not realistic.
Yeah, not the whole time.
After that, it starts to get a little weird because I don't need you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, the entire time is just weird, and I'm gonna think you're a mental patient.
Right. That's not even realistic, because there comes a point where that interferes with the intimacy of the moment, of the entire moment. So you just there has to be a flow and a connection, and again, in the heat of that moment, you might be flipped into a different position where that's not even a possibility. You know what I mean? Like we said earlier, Jeff, when you're changing positions and you're doing different things, we're not going to be doing the same position the entire time. That's boring.
Right. Yeah.
Like, who's doing that?
Not always, but I got you.
No, I mean,
right. Like, who's doing that? I mean,
after a while,
that's different. We're not talking about quickies here. We're talking about
if it's a quickie,
intimate moments and stuff.
I mean, well, number one, if it's a quickie, then I'm not going to see her face anyway. Quickies for me are just
they're going to be in the pillow and screaming.
Yeah, I mean, quickies are something different, but if it's something going to last a while, yes, right. I'm like, what the fuck are you looking at? You know, so it can't be, don't stare at me the entire time, but occasionally I am going to ask a woman, like, look at me.
Right.
So I don't know. It is a form of eroticism, and it can definitely turn me on. Like,
right. Well, so now let's talk about this. Let's go a little bit deeper here, because one of the things we were talking about is eye contact during oral sex.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yay or nay, folks?
Just on and off.
If you're sucking my dick, I'm gonna look up at you 2 times. Once to make sure. If I look at you once, I'm gonna see if you're enjoying it. Second time is if you're doing it bad, I'm gonna look at you with that look like okay, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's an off kind of thing.
To give signals on whether or not you're enjoying it.
You can tell if someone's not into it, though. You could tell. You should be able to.
Well, you should be able to tell by their body language. You shouldn't have to be able to look at the person. You should be able to tell by their body language, but
kind of. You're female, so not necessarily. Like if a guy goes down on you, you can tell if they're not into it. They're gay.
And he ought to be he ought to be able to tell if I'm not into it. That's what I'm saying.
Well, someone in the audience just said when I'm into it, they know because I don't ever come up for air, but they're too shy to say it.
No, I mean, really quickly, let me respond to.
Okay, go ahead, Trey.
Let me respond to what Candy said. Yes, quickies don't have to always be from behind, but for me, if it's a quickie, that's really it. Just turn around, arch your back, and count to 60 or something like that. But as much as I love going down on the right woman. The right woman, if she's looks good down there, looks pretty, it looks beautiful, it smells nice, I'll be down there for a while and I know what I'm doing. So it's just one of those cases where
No, my friend, the audience people are commenting now. I told you.
No, you're good.
Go ahead, Troy.
No eye contact. No, I mean, I guess for me, I think I've reached that point in my life where I actually enjoy it more than the woman. If everything's good to go, then it's just one of those things where the more she's getting turned on, then I'm getting turned on. But occasionally I will look up and look at her to see if she's enjoying it, and if we just happen to lock eyes during the process, hey, so be it. I'll look at you while I'm doing my thing, and you look at me while you enjoy it.
Right.
Okay. So sometimes you look at eye contact as affirmation and confirmation, and and rest.
Even if there is no eye contact with me, of course, if I can hear her, then I know that I'm hitting the spot.
It's that moan, that moan.
I mean, a woman moaning is my favorite sound in the whole world.
You mentioned
so if a woman moaning lets me know whatever I'm doing at that moment, whatever spot I'm, clockwise or counterclockwise or spelling my name or whatever.
In 1 inch to the left.
Say what?
Nothing.
Can I just say that quiet sex is the worst?
Quiet sex is, I won't call you back.
To me, it's the worst. Like, why are you so quiet? Like, I need to hear something at some point. Like,
too much. You scream too much. You scream too much. No, your head's going in the pillow. Because I can only turn my music up so loud before my roommates.
Ain't nobody got time for that screaming. But I'm here for the moaning and all that stuff. But just dead silence, no response, stoic. That's just like.
That's me.
Medicinal. I can't.
No, that's me while you walk into your car, I'm unfriending you on Facebook.
Right.
That I will not call boring quiet sex is. Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. If I'm giving my best and I know I'm giving her my A game and she's still quiet, it just means I'm like, ain't nothing wrong with you. You're just not for me.
There's a disconnect.
Yeah, there's something going on because I'm like, no, I like to hear some moaning and some screaming, shit like that. Right. I mean, number one is sexy as hell. Number two, of course, it feeds my ego. I'm like, I start high stepping to the kitchen when I get some water. I'm like, I did that. But quiet sex.
Drink her some water. Or you did what you're supposed to.
Right. Of course, I'm not going to put that strictly on us like it's just a man thing. But I know for me, as a man, it does make me feel good knowing, okay, she got what she came for.
Exactly.
Right. She's not going to leave here disappointed.
I agree. I think that overall, like I was saying earlier, it's not just when you're intimate with somebody, it's not just one side. It's not just about the ladies. It's not about us getting pleasure. And like that man is not enjoying himself, you can forget it. Like you can forget it. And I think that part of the challenge sometimes in finding sexual positions, and we were talking about overrated, underrated, and as they talk about eye contact and all that stuff, sometimes it boils down to, listen, you got to know basic anatomy, okay? If you don't know basic anatomy, sex ed, and how the body works, male and female, you're going to still miss the boat. You're going to still miss it. So again, if that position ain't optimal to that man's friction,
Amen.
Then you need to find another position that's going to be optimal to that man getting the friction that he needs to enjoy himself too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what works for you. Right. And you have to, I guess, find that with whatever partner you're with, because what worked with your previous partner may not work with this current partner. And so it just may require some trial and error, some practice makes perfect. But yeah, no, I can't. I'm sorry, my mind is still on that whole quiet sex thing. That's some bullshit.
Okay.
That is the worst. It's like at that point you need to have conversations to reevaluate what's happening in this moment in your relationship and the dynamics, because y'all, I cannot just tell y'all that Reggie and Candy got a thread going on about different places to have sex. So as we talk about different positions, you might have to consider where you are being intimate, and that might be optimal for depending on where you are.
Yes, you know
how
what?
This don't happen, because they over here, they done gave us, we're on backseat, park bench, picnic blankets, table, couch, countertops, balcony, banister, hoods of the car, in the trunk, washing machine, in the sink.
What if it's on? You're gonna be shaking and getting off. Hey, but I'm so sorry. I got to run an event tonight, but I hate to run. But this was a wonderful conversation, and we definitely need to do a part 2.
I'm with that.
Thank you all for your support and stuff. And I just wanted to shout out my cousins for their new show and their 1 million views. I shared it and stuff.
And that was insane. 1 million views was wow.
Well, he was on Dancing with the Stars. His big following as well, so that's why.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
and Facebook censored.
Say hi to Alex for us, please.
Jeff,
Alex,
Jeff, before you go, big shout out to you. You did your thing on TMZ. That was a good look.
Appreciate it. I will be back on there on December 4th.
Okay, cool.
Check it out, y'all. Yeah, we're definitely gonna do a part 2 to this, because this is definitely an interesting conversation. I think that one of the things that I think we're challenged, especially in our community as Black people, sometimes we find stuff like this taboo, and these are conversations that make us uncomfortable sometimes, and then other times it's conversations that people probably that they want to have, but they don't know how to engage or initiate the conversation. So I want to talk to real briefly, Troy and I, before we close for tonight. How do you have these conversations? Good night, Jeff. How do you broach these conversations? All right, babe. Yes.
I have a party tonight. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
How do you broach this conversation? So say that, this was a conversation in Ringside, but maybe, you want more eye contact from your partner, or, you want to try a position that they're not really keen on, or whatever the case may be. I think that when we talk about overrated or underrated positions and moments of intimacy, whether it's, eye contact, whether it's, during penetration or oral sex or what have you, how do you broach that conversation with your partner? And this is obviously not with somebody that you just hooking up with, because you didn't really care about that. That's hit it, split it, and quit it. But when you're in a relationship with somebody, how do you broach that conversation with them about these positions, about eye contact, especially if you want more eye contact and you're not getting it, and they feel some type of way about it?
Communication. At the end of the day, it's like, if there's something you like, no matter what the position is or behavior on their part, it's nothing wrong with communicating that and saying, hey, I find it erotic if you would do more of this, or it really turns me on when we make eye contact. And you let them know, especially with something like that. I think a great first attempt could be, you have to phrase it as a win-win situation. Like, doing this for me helps me help you. You have to phrase it. You definitely want to phrase whatever it is you want to propose on the table as, okay, even though I'm asking for this, you're going to benefit. You're going to have a heightened orgasm. You're going to discover something new. But you don't come across like it's 100%, for you. Like, I want to try this for me and nobody else but me. Like, no, I want this. I want to try this because I feel like this will heighten the activity between the both of us. It's going to be more intimate. I think it's going to be a deeper connection, and you're going to experience a different sensation, a different level of pleasure. So you need to talk. I mean, if you're with this person, obviously you guys have already established a relationship, then you shouldn't be acquiesced to, talking about something that is important to you. And sex is very important.
Oh yeah. And I, what gets me is when people talk about, oh, sex is not that important. Maybe to you, maybe that's why you're having problems, because you feel that way and the other person don't. But I think that Reginald has a good recommendation here. He says, I think in a relationship, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it or don't know how to, you should maneuver your positioning during intimate moments to see how they react. It's kind of up there. That's kind of up there, like when Jeff was talking about, pulling the legs up just to kind of stretch, stretching to test your stretch to see how flexible you are. I agree. Sometimes, I think that sometimes you've got to, you got to kind of introduce it in a way that is subtle. Earlier, Jay Stream was talking about pretty much the same thing. You got to introduce it in a way that you make them think it's their idea, in a way. But I agree, you got to have that conversation and really, really, really figure out how to bridge that gap, because it might be something deeper that they haven't talked to you about. That it's a trigger, maybe something happened. I don't know, but there's definitely things that happen, and maybe it's something that Jeff's recommending foreplay. Sometimes people skip that, and that's a great way to introduce things slowly and subtly into, what I'm saying, into the relationship. But you've got to just know who's, I don't know, what's going on with that person, because maybe it's just that night they're just having an off night. I'm with you, Andy. Sex is only underrated to people that's not doing it right, and that is, to me, gospel.
That's the truth. Yep, absolutely.
To me, that is just.
Well, I mean, it's underrated, definitely, number one, for people who aren't doing it right. Number two, it can be underrated if you are with someone in a committed relationship or marriage, and the sex becomes so monotonous to where it's like, well, the thrill is gone at a certain point, and it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Because if you're with someone months, years, whatever, you're going to get into the routine. You know what position they're going to start you off first, and which position is going to be transition next and everything. And then, so, and one day you look up and you're with someone who's like, damn, we have this same sexual template that we use every single time. And eventually it's going to get boring. Eventually the sex is going to turn into one of those, like, I'd rather take a nap.
And you're not going to want to make eye contact, because you're going to be like, oh, this again?
Yes, because at that point it turns into a chore. It turns into something, okay, I have to do this because, I'm with this chick and I got to do what I got to do. It's expected. It's no longer, the more and more it becomes less and less desirable, and more of like, okay, this is just one of those, I got to do the dishes, I got to take the trash out, I got to fuck her, and good night. And so at that point, once it reaches that point, then sex can become underrated. That's when I said earlier, you got to sprinkle a little seasoning on it and remix the positions, and you may have to approach your partner with something different, like, hey baby, how would you feel if I lick your ass, or something like that, or how would you feel about riding my face? But and then even in that situation, like, let her know, let the person you would know, like, you're going to benefit from this too. It's not going to be just about me. You're going to experience some new highs and some additional orgasms, and so work it out, people.
I agree. You got to go beyond. Sometimes you got to go beyond that salt and pepper. You better go pull out that paprika. You better get some, chili powder and garlic or whatever, and make it do what it do. I agree that what Reginald said, that maybe they're scared to do it because they've never done it and are afraid to ask. And you do need to figure out how to, how to alleviate those fears, because at the end of the day, you have to approach this the same way you would if it was your first time having sex with somebody. Like if that person was a virgin, because they might be a virgin to what you are proposing. In that case, yeah, it can be very scary. You know what I mean? It can be very scary, but yeah, you got to work it out together and have open conversation and dialogue. If you're married, you should be comfortable having conversation with your life partner, because this is somebody that you are doing life with. And that's not like, that shouldn't be the equivalent of we doing time, like you in prison. No, you're doing life together, as in we're having fun, we're growing, and we're coming together and making things work. And that should come with openness. That should come with a connection. That should come with you being able to have conversation and connect on a completely different level. And maybe you need to build up to it, absolutely. But again, when it comes to underrated or overrated positions and eye contact, all that kind of stuff.
Let me respond really quickly. Candy, I feel the exact same way, Candy. A woman, I would say this as far as my favorite, a woman that will let me come in her face, that will be my favorite. That'll be the one for me. So right. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
Right. So what Candy says is, the man that is willing to give me my ultimate fantasy of a 50-yard line under the lights will be my forever 100. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody has that thing. Like if I find someone that will let me do this or will do me like this, then that's it. That we done. We don't. I'm gonna lock that and take that out of the game. I understand. I'm looking for it.
When you find somebody that does it, that means that person is comfortable with you. You know what I mean? That that person has that person is so connected and feels safe, and you know what I mean, and connected with you to decide that I want to, this is somebody that I want to fulfill their fantasies as much as I want them to fulfill mine. It's reciprocal. And it's very, when you find somebody that's willing to do that, absolutely they should be your forever, because that means you have established something together. Versus, and again, that ain't just hookup stuff though. You know what I'm saying? That's when you, like we're saying, like Reginald said, that's growing together. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between, you're growing together. And again, that's building. That what you're talking about now, we're talking about building. And at that point, that does not mean that you're still not going to have challenges, in the bedroom. It does not mean that you're not going to have those uncomfortable conversations. But hopefully tonight's conversation gave you some ideas of how to broach those conversations with your partner, and say, hey, give you ideas on how to introduce things that make you uncomfortable, or that you're a little, like Reginald said, you might be a little afraid to introduce, but life is too short. We said in the last After Dark, and we'll say it tonight, and we'll keep saying it. Life is too short for you to be miserable. In the last After Dark, Tanya told us she would, at a certain point she had to break free because it was just boring. The relationship, it really, people might feel some type of way about, sex, and a relationship shouldn't just hinge on sex. But let me tell y'all something. Y'all want to sit here and be foolish like it's not important, but the reality is, baby, sex is very important. It's one of the number one reasons, next to money and communication, why people get divorced. And if you don't believe it, in COVID, a whole lot of people, marriages, relationships done broke up. Why? During COVID. Why? Because sex.
Candy, yeah. I would be, I'm a gentleman, so I would let the woman know that I'm coming, and that would be her cue to close her eyes. She can have, I don't want her to go blind. I wouldn't want her to lose her vision. So yes, close your eyes or have some glasses on or something. We can goggles. We can worry about that later. Just any woman who will let me, just spray my load all over and give her a facial. Yeah, that's a special woman. And I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that love. That's that real love.
That's a real love, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know any other way to close out tonight than to so yeah, those uncomfortable hit the chin, boo, hit the chin.
No, we gotta just
I'm
close your
gonna
eyes.
need Candy and Troy to have a personal conversation.
Actually, Candy, women that wear glasses can be sexy. If you're wearing glasses, then you ain't got to worry about it. But have the glasses on, make me think you're a sexy librarian or a sexy nerd. That would be a turn on. That would actually make me have a heavier load. I'm waiting. I promise you. I'm gonna make the day it happens. I'm gonna make a blog post and let the world know that I have been found.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now. We gonna know when Troy's fantasy has come to life, and
Right.
I don't think we gonna hear the end of it. And he should talk about it as much as he.
Yeah. As much as I wanted. I mean, so if I come back for another Zoom, and if I come back light skinned, then okay, someone just sucked the soul right out of me. So
He said, "Come back light skin."
So just I'll let you know, Candy. I'll let you know when that happens. And
He just turned into a whole other person, just morphed into something different, huh?
Yeah. I'm just saying. So hopefully there's a lady out there that will allow it and not be so sexually conservative. I'm like, okay, let's try something different. I promise you, I'll help you clean up.
Right. Reginald said, "You go come back like I'm married, y'all."
Hey, yeah. Well, could be. Come back like, you know what, y'all, I'm out. So I got some business to take care of. Yeah. So but yeah, the world will know. I'll definitely make it known. I'll let it be known when it happened.
Yo. Woo. Well, Candy says
Candy, I
hope
so. I really hope so, because the post in Ringside today was just another sad observation how I think we as Black people can be way too sexually conservative.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I hate that stereotype when people talk about how Black people compared to whites are more reserved and more conservative and stuff like that. And I hate that. I hate that that's a stereotype.
But that's why we're having these conversations, because
no.
Because okay. So but that's why we have these conversations, because I think that the more we have these conversations, we're getting rid of that taboo thinking and the mindset. And I think that in our community, in the Black community, for so long, this was something that you don't talk about. We did not openly talk about these kinds of subjects when it came to sex. And I think that what Anna's saying, being surprised that people have so many restrictions in sex, is because we do not have open conversations in safe spaces, or either we don't have safe spaces like this where people of color, like Black people, feel safe and comfortable having conversations, open conversation about these kinds of subjects. But these are the kinds of things that are affecting our relationships. And because we're not having these conversations, and I don't know if it's because it's not enough, we don't have enough safe spaces, or people are afraid, or whatever. But I think the more we have these conversations and help people learn how to have these conversations in their own relationships, whether it's learning how to broach, underrated, overrated sex positions, eye contact, whatever the case may be, we need to continue to have these kinds of conversations, because it's really messing up our relationships. And it's, we're talking about these different dynamics, but at the end of the day, it's if we don't talk about it, it's not going to go away. It's like trying to sweep a whole bunch of stuff under the rug. Eventually, you're going to see it's just going to pile up. Eventually, you still got to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so that's why I feel like these kinds of conversations are important, because it's going to help free people up from feeling so restricted sexually. And, not in a sense of, we're encouraging people to do whatever. It's just, you need to be having open conversations in your relationships about sex. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're married for 2 days or 2,500 years. It's I agree, Miss Anna. Sex should absolutely be exploratory. Period. It should be exploratory. It's not something that like Troy said. A lot of times people get married, and after a while, you've been married so long, it's the same thing over and over. You can predict exactly what's going to happen at what moment, and that shouldn't be the case. And that's why again, people are.
Sex can definitely become predictable, and I promise you, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling whatsoever. So it's like, do something. You can, take it by inches. You don't have to necessarily, change it to a completely different person overnight, but little by little, let's update our sex life. Your phone updates. Why not? Let's update our damn sex life.
Thank you.
So it's like the way
everything else in your life updates. I agree.
Yeah. So our sex life should update, and at the end of the day, don't let it turn into a chore. Let it be something fun. Let it be something where you and your partner look forward to it, like something where, you daydream, you fantasize, you can't wait to get home from the office and, fuck the shit out of each other. Because, unlike last year or unlike before, now we're into something different now. Now we're into something that we both can get off and we both enjoy. Yeah, just don't make that shit boring, and just take this load. That's all I ask.
You and Candy need to have a conversation. That's all I can say.
If I meet Candy, we're not gonna be talking.
Yeah. I don't think y'all will be talking at all. At least not with your mouths. But I agree.
Talking is overrated.
There's a point where you do have to. I think there is a point where you do need to gradually introduce things and not drastically or immediately, because you don't want to shock that person or send them into a fight or flight mode or retreat. But again, it boils down to knowing your mate and at what level you are in your relationship and how long you've been together, and knowing how to, again, wade into that thing. You might have to become an artist at making it seem like it's their idea. And, hey, but some stuff, because the last thing you want to do is trigger your mate. Like, you don't want to do that. But, but again, I think I agree with you, Reginald. People have a pull to not explore in fear of being left alone. And I think that's a conversation that we need to have about that, why people stay in relationships and why people suppress things to themselves just so they can stay in a relationship, because they don't want to be alone. And that's just not healthy, because why be with somebody just for the sake of not being alone? That doesn't make any sense. And I think but some people, for the sake of saving their marriage, they suffer and endure through a lot of stuff. And it's like, is it worth it? Well, is it worth it for you to spend the rest of your marriage, relationship, having awful sex and being unsatisfied and eventually frustrated? Because that's going to spill over into your emotions. And you're going to start taking stuff out on that person because you're mad, because you're not satisfied. And you're restricted. And so whether you go see a sex therapist or come here and, enjoy an after dark conversation with us, figure it out. Because, So, we might have a part 2 to this. Hopefully with the rest of the crew. Horace, again, is at an event tonight. So, Troy, any parting words for the people on this topic? And we're talking about overrated, underrated sex positions and eye contact.
Just make sure you sprinkle some seasoning on it occasionally, but keep it exciting. That's about it. I gotta get off in a second because somebody's blowing up my phone, and I mean, gotta go see who it is.
Yeah, no, we're closing out. So, but we thank you guys for joining us tonight. The moment I think Troy and Candy get together, we're gonna feel it all up and down the East Coast. We're gonna have our own earthquake and aftershocks and everything else, because these right here. So you guys, thank you for joining us tonight for another After Dark conversation here. And Reginald said, Candy blowing up that phone.
Somebody, no, I mean, I've been, the last 20 minutes, I mean, I received 3 different text messages, and I'm like, who the hell is texting me this late?
Well,
so I'm like, okay, I'm curious. I'm like, okay, who is this?
Well now.
We'll see.
We thank y'all. Y'all have a good night, and we will see y'all on the next conversation. Until then, good night.
All right, everybody, peace. All right, Dr. H.